All right, we should be live. All right, boom and boom. Okay, so yeah. Hey guys, let me know, of course, if you can hear me loud and clear, and then we will go ahead and begin. I wanted to talk about Bitcoin, Ethereum, pretty much altcoins in general, and what to expect for the next few weeks, what my plan is, and what we're looking for in terms of price rallies, where to exit, blah, blah, blah. So, yes, it is all-time high. Congrats to everyone that has made it this far. It has been a long journey, maybe a few years, of course, for the OGs. But for those of you that are first cycles, whatever, this is your first all-time high. And that's exactly why I wanted to start this live stream off with Bitcoin specifically. Now, the thing about all-time high, which a lot of people need to understand, is that everyone should have a goal. What I mean by that is everyone should have a target for their portfolio. This is my third cycle now. And the first cycle, of course, was the ICO season. You know, everyone's making a lot of money. That was probably the largest gains cycle we ever saw, and also the largest loss cycle because a lot of people didn't know what to do. Second cycle, of course, we saw some nice gains in terms of DeFi and everything like that. And again, the same mistakes I kept making over the past two cycles was, number one, not realizing profits, and number two, not having a target. And what I mean by that is, again, with the portfolio you have or whatever sort of wallet, whatever you have realistically in crypto, you should have a goal. And a goal simply means I want to pay off my debts. I want to pay off my student loans. I want to pay off my mortgage, anything like that. When you get to that goal, it is time for you to take your profits. It doesn't matter if you think Bitcoin's going to 200,000, if you think Dogecoin's going to $1. It doesn't matter if Ethereum's going to 10,000. You need to have your goal. You get to that goal, you exit your trades. Now, a lot of times what people do is they tend to panic, right? Like, for example, I'll give the example of Dogecoin. You know, when we hit like 27 and then it drops down to 22, 21, I see the same people freaking out and saying, oh, I sold my Dogecoin at 21. Now it went back to 26. I don't know what to do. And that's where I always tell people, if your goal long-term is to make X amount of money, then these swings and little chops in between they don't matter. They really don't. Your end goal should be just holding throughout with spot positions and letting the market come to you. And now specifically with Bitcoin, you can see that a lot of people, for whatever reason, were extremely bearish, which didn't really make sense to me, right? Like, a lot of people here said, okay, Bitcoin has double topped. I even drew the two circles because I talked about this in the streams prior. And we were pretty much just consolidating in between this range. Yes, we did have a nice drop to 107. But guys, the 107 region, and this is why I always tell people, is to focus on the larger picture. I'm going to go ahead and delete all of my indicators here just so everyone has a clear view of what I'm talking about. So look at Bitcoin, right? And this is how I knew that we were not looking for a bear market for Bitcoin. Instead, it was a buying opportunity. A lot of you guys asked, how did I know that was going to be the bottom for Ethereum and the other altcoins? And I'll explain to you. Look at Bitcoin on December 16th of last year, where we were using it as resistance. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we had 5 retest opportunities as resistance on Bitcoin from all the way up into June of this year. Now look at where Bitcoin bounced on support, right? It's the same area that acting was resistance. That's why I tell you guys, sorry for the ambulance, but that's the same area why I tell you guys is to pay attention in terms of their support and resistance on a daily interval. The reason why is because of the fact that this simply was a buying opportunity. If, of course, the range broke, right? So if, of course, we saw Bitcoin break, then yes, I would say, hey, guys, it's time to take your profits. Bear market is probably going to start from here, yada, yada, yada. But regardless, we didn't see that play out, right? Bitcoin didn't see that structure break. Instead, we just saw a nice W formation be made. And I talked about this W formation at 117.6. I said, look, if Bitcoin breaks 117.6, most likely we will see a new all-time high. How did I know? And the reason was, look at where Bitcoin was in terms of the 3 test opportunity on a daily time frame. This is what momentum trading is. This is what I teach you guys a lot of times is not to short. First test, second test, now third test, break all-time high, and now we continue rallying. You don't want to be that person that ends up shorting a moving train. It's just stupid and it's not smart to do in general, because if you look at Bitcoin at any point for the past few weeks, if you shorted, you ended up getting liquidated. And again, you can say, oh, okay, well, there's a red candle right there. Realistically, you entering on a short here, more than likely, you're probably not going to hold this or close the short. You would have gone liquidated here, you would have gone liquidated here, you would have gone liquidated here, you would have gone liquidated. You get my point. And it's just been a slow ladder case towards the upside. But with all-time high, you don't want to be short. The reason why is across the board, you're starting to see multiple people, and not just people, news, everything saying Bitcoin all-time high. We're starting to see not only retail has been here, of course, but we're starting to see more momentum. How do I know? There's a lot more people in just my circles, and I'm talking about real life, that are talking about crypto now. They're saying, oh, hey, what do you think about this? Hey, what do you think about that? Why do you think this? Why do you think? And that usually starts to indicate that we're in an extreme zone where, of course, we have to start scaling or taking some profits. And that brings me to my main point. Have a goal in your head and start looking to take some profits. Because if we look at Ethereum, and again, I'm not saying that Ethereum is done by any means. I personally don't think so. I think altcoins are just going to starting now. But if we look at Ethereum, our next trade update on Ethereum, and this is going to be very important, is going to be right at this wick high here at 47.70. And the reason why I chose this level is, you can see from previous price analysis, we saw multiple wicks here at 47.70 before. But once we broke above that zone, we had a new all-time high for Ethereum. Now, with Bitcoin leading at 125.3, I do think that Ethereum and other altcoins are lagging behind. And the point is, once Bitcoin starts to consolidate, so once we start seeing that chop movement, money and dominance starts to drop, money should start flowing to Ethereum and the other altcoins. And that's the main gains that we're going to make. Guys, we are nearing the end of the cycle. For those people that are on YouTube sitting here that the cycle is going for another 3 years, we're the same people that were telling you to sell your Bitcoin, sell your crypto at 107K because we were going to 95K or 93K CME gap. I am here to tell you it is probably a good idea to start having an exit plan, because within the next few months, again, I'm not the person to sit here and say, okay, February 27th of 2026 is going to be the top of Bitcoin. Some idiot said October, like, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make sense. Just focus more on the chart versus the time frame. But once you're at your target, you exit. And what I've been doing pretty much this whole year to all these run-ups and everything is I've been scaling out of my positions. Now, of course, I do make quite a bit of money in terms of leverage in general. But what I do is I move my money over to different sort of asset classes. So what I do, for example, is Pudgy specifically is one, is I'll simply stack NFTs or something I truly believe in. And I'm not talking about all NFTs. I'm only talking about Pudgy Penguins or Pengu. And that's where most of my portfolio is. Now, hear me out. The reason I do this is because it's still a hedge towards Ethereum. I'm not going into meme coins like Dog with Hat, Pepe right now, because we're nearing the end of the cycle. There's a lot more risk than there is reward. But what can I do where I can get both sides of the situation? How can I make money on Ethereum? And how can I make money on, in general, with my portfolio, try to go 2 to 3x with size, extremely safe? And it really comes down to what your risk to reward ratio is for the next few months. In my head, I'm thinking, okay, where do I think Ethereum's going to go? Well, just looking at it from this perspective, we've already tested 48.65 multiple times. Now, why would the market come back up here and then just go to a bear market? And that's what the question I ask a lot of people. Does it really make sense for the market after seeing these many tests in terms of resistance to say, okay, yeah, this is going to be the top and now we're going down? No, right? We're most likely going to see a blow off top. We're most likely going to see a massive rally on Ethereum. And that is where the question becomes is, am I going to make money just holding Ethereum from here to here? Or can I risk it in terms of NFTs where, again, my hedge is still in Ethereum, but best case scenario, we see an NFT run. I'm willing to take that risk, right? I'm willing to say, okay, well, the reason why it's not all NFTs, it's just Pudgy, is because first of all, the Pengu ETF decision is going to be within the next few weeks. There's momentum plays, and this is the king of momentum plays, because guess what? If the coin goes up, the NFTs go up. And we saw that when Pengu, of course, was rallying from 0.008 to 0.03, a 300% gain. We saw the Pudgy NFT, we saw the little Pudgies, they all rallied with it. It's one big ecosystem. And that's why I keep telling you guys is to start focusing more on the larger plays. And again, if you're not NFT friendly, that's totally okay. There's other large plays to keep an eye on. For example, Dogecoin. Look at Dogecoin's chart, guys. Realistically, without any sort of noise, if you look here, this looks like it's getting ready for a massive parabolic rally. If we just look at it from, guys, look at it from a blind eye, okay? No bias, no nothing, just look at it from a blind eye. Does this look like a downtrend, or does this look like it's gonna see a massive rally? And that's literally what the question becomes is, okay, from a risk to reward ratio, if I'm trading at 26 cents right now and the peak of Doge was at 74, just again, rough math, that's a 3x with size, right? So that's from 25, 50, 75. That's a 3x with size. Best case scenario, Dogecoin goes to $1.50. Again, nobody knows, right? But that's best case scenario. Worst case scenario, we know that looking at the chart, it looks like it at least will go back to all-time high, just like Ethereum has, right? Just like many other coins, like for example, I'm not gonna say it, but you get my point. There are many altcoins that have seen all-time high or larger all-time high in the past few months. Does this mean that Dogecoin is never going to see all-time high? No, right? But just from a risk to reward ratio, if I'm sitting here, I'm not looking at it like, okay, guys, I have $10,000. I'm at the end of the cycle. What's the most stupid thing I could do here to lose $10,000? Instead, my thought process is, how can I preserve this $10,000? Maybe not make 100% immediately, but how can I make the most amount of money and end off and ride into the sunset safely? Because at this point in the cycle, you need to preserve your wealth, because again, you start to see larger caps move extremely fast, and that usually indicates that we are nearing the end of the cycle. We have had our fun with meme coins, right? You guys saw, I gave you Dogway Fat at 9 cents. I gave you Popcat at 11 cents. I gave you Troll at 20 mil market cap. I can name hundreds of meme coins. I have Geo Bowden, I threw in the chat before. Like, there's so many coins that I have done, and we made an insane amount of money, but now is not the time to be sitting on meme coins. Now is actually the time to be focusing larger on these large cap plays. So if we're looking at it from Doge's perspective, and this is where I get extremely bullish, is if you look at every single altcoin like Ethereum right now, all of these altcoin charts look identical. Doge has already hit 0.29 range to 0.30 multiple times, right? You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and a support retest 12 wicks on that region around 0.29 to 0.3. 12 wicks, right? That is a lot of resistance that has been tested. Where is the top of the move set for Doge? Well, if you look here, it's going to be around 44 to 45 cents. But that has also been tested multiple times. And that's where things get very interesting, is you start focusing more on what happens after 45. Everyone look at the chart with me. What happens at 45 cents? Nothing. There's nothing left. It goes straight to 75. Look at the, I'll zoom in for you guys. Sorry, bear with me. This is tough. Okay, here you go. So what happens at 45 cents, right? After 45, Doge rallied to 75, and then we saw a corrective move. But looking at it from this perspective now, we're at 26 cents. Zoom out, guys. Seriously, zoom out. Stop focusing on the little penny moves. Hold for the long term, and that's how you're going to make it in this cycle. Bitcoin hitting a new all-time high is letting you know that altcoins still have to play catch up, right? A lot of these altcoins still have to rally from their all-time high perspectives, and that's where you get the risk and to reward appetite. That's pretty much where I'm coming from and saying, hey guys, probably a good idea to start looking into these sort of plays versus just sitting on meme coins or something high risk and thinking your old bags are going to come out. And that brings me to XRP. And you guys know I have a passion for hating this coin. I do, because I was there in 2018, 2017. I was there with the unlocks. I was there. There's a lot of first cycles don't know about this coin, but I'm not going to sit here and talk shit about it. Instead, I'm just going to give you a reality check. The thing about XRP is, regardless, when the market goes up, it's also going to go up, right? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what XRP, what you believe in. The market does what it wants. The problem for me is the fact that if we look at it from a long-term perspective, It's just, guys, 4 years from the top, from $1.85 to now $3. You waited 4 years for a $1 gain. It's a reality check of opportunity cost. Look at Ethereum, look at Solana, do the 4-year math on it. It doesn't make sense to hold this coin, right? It really doesn't, because again, whether you feel however you feel on it, it's more about opportunity cost. And I give you Doge's example. Doge is a 4x from now, give or take, even 3x if you want to play all-time high. Do you really think XRP is going to $9 at the end of the cycle? No, it's not. I'm willing to take any bet on towards that too. It's not going to go to $9 a cycle. I'm not saying it's not going to go to $9 ever. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying there's opportunity cost when it comes down to these sort of positions. And that's the number one opportunity cost, is why sit in a coin that doesn't do anything for multiple years. And I'm not saying go jump in high risk to high reward coins. I'm just saying there's other coins like Solana. There's other coins like even XLM. Even there's other coins out there that you can look into that probably will give you a better rate of return versus XRP, which has just been a dinosaur, right? And then people on YouTube sit there and be like, well, it's going to $500 because the Swift system is going to move. People are hating. They don't know. When it booms, it booms. No, it's not going to boom, right? Realistically, if Bitcoin's sitting at 126,000 and this thing has not yet moved, does it really make sense for it to boom, right? That's where you have to start thinking, like, am I really in the right sort of investments? And again, I'm not saying that it's not going to go up, right? Everything goes up with Bitcoin. All I'm saying is an opportunity cost for holding for 4 years. Like a reality check, figure it out. So that's pretty much the end of that spiel. Now, I just want to give you guys the main trades now, okay? Now, we're just going to talk specifically on leverage, and then I'll end off the stream explaining what I'm going to do, at least for the next few weeks, and what my plan is. So, in terms of the next trade setups, number one is Ethereum. And the only trade on Ethereum that we're taking as of now, of course, was 46.70 was our take profit this morning. It hit that level. Of course, we saw a 47.30 wick. This is where greed comes. I don't trade when something breaks target. I simply wait for the market to correct, and then I look for the next trade setup. Now, the next trade setup for Ethereum is going to be around 47.70. It's going to be the top of that wick. Once we end up breaking that wick, it's the trade to all-time high. Make it very simple for yourself, just like at Bitcoin, at the 123 range. Keep it simple. Break all-time high, you ride towards all-time high, right? You're not sitting there hoping, hopes and dreams. No, you're not entering here like, oh my God, I can get 46.90 and then I can get, no, because again, if it corrects from here, now you're basically longing the top, right? That's not what you want to do. Instead, you want to wait for a wick break, ride it into all-time high. Best case scenario, we break all-time high and now we're balling, right? We go to 5K, whatever. Worst case scenario, we hit all-time high and then we see a consolidation and then we bounce. But again, regardless, we're taking the trade into all-time high. It's going to be from here. So that's still a pretty significant gain from around 47.70 to around 40. It's about $100 Ethereum play, which is extremely good for leverage, right? In any books, any low leverage, high leverage, doesn't matter. It's a good trade setup. So that's pretty much what I'm focusing on. Now, in terms of my exit, so in terms of what I'm doing, again, is I've been scaling out profits, or I've been scaling out whatever I've had in crypto in general and slowly exiting, because no one's going to get the exact top perfectly. But am I comfortable to exit some Ethereum here at 4,700? Yeah, right? It's near all-time high. I'm pretty happy with that. Can it go to 5K? Yeah, probably. And I still have Ethereum for it to go to 5K, right? And that's what I'm saying, is you need to really focus on your portfolio and figure out at what point is it enough? Because if you're sitting here and you're up, well, let's just say 300%, and now you're really fighting for an extra 100% and risking 300%, it's absolutely stupid. Like you're better off just closing and moving on with your life and just focusing on something else. And that's what it comes down to, is have that exit and focus on that exit. That's pretty much in terms of the next trade setups. Now, Bitcoin, like I said, I personally, when it comes down to Bitcoin, nobody knows now, right? I can't even sit here and say anything. Like, every time it breaks wick, just take a long position, right? So the wick here was 125.7, which I told you guys in Telegram. Take the long, and it hit 126.2 and then reject it, right? So it's still a decent set of a $650, $700 trade, but the reason why nobody knows is because there's a gray area now, right? We're at all-time high. Can it just keep going? Yeah, for sure. But we don't necessarily want to long the top either. So what I usually suggest in these sort of situations is every time it breaks wick, you enter the trade and you're super aggressive with your profits. Best case scenario, you get a wick like this and you can exit the trade happily. Worst case scenario, it hits the wick and then it starts to reject and you just close the trade for a tight stop loss. But that's pretty much how we trade all-time high until we start seeing a consolidation move. Then cool, we have a lot more options ahead of us. That's why I focus more on other altcoins right now. With Bitcoin at all-time high, I'm not really super crazy about Bitcoin, right? I'm more crazy about Ethereum setup. I'm more crazy about Solana setup. I'm more crazy about Dogecoin setup because these setups have not yet played and they are massive setups. So I'm heavily focusing on these sort of situations. So for me, again, it's going to be 47.70. That's the level for Ethereum if you want to write that down. For Dogecoin, our first target was 0.27, which of course it did hit today. I will upload the video, I promise, later today. But the next target is going to be a wick break. So if this breaks at 0.27, then we're taking the trade into 0.28. Now, this is going to be a lot more interesting than Ethereum. And the reason why is I think Doge, again, is one of those coins that is lagging extremely hard. And I do think that Doge is going to have a much stronger rally in the coming weeks. The reason why is look at how many times this specific level at 0.28 has been tested. The more times a resistance level is tested, the weaker it becomes. And right now, Doge is hovering right below that major resistance. Me personally, I don't see Doge going to 0.28 and stalling. I actually see Doge going to 0.28 and just seeing a mega squeeze. And what do I talk about a mega squeeze? It's happened on Dogecoin before and a lot of people were not ready for it. A mega squeeze is what this is right here. You can see on Dogecoin in one day, we went from 0.21 into the highs of 0.29. Then the next day from 0.27 all the way up to 35 cents. That is what we're looking for as of now for Dogecoin. The reason why I'm saying that is because with Bitcoin at all-time high, Ethereum rallying near all-time high, and Doge is still going sideways, this is an opportunity for a lot of people, right? And I gave the example. XRP is near all-time high. It doesn't count, but Doge has not even gotten close to all-time high. There are opportunities in this market, and this is one of those opportunities. Focus on Dogecoin. Focus on trying to get the larger trades here because, again, we're near the end game, guys. After this, large caps pretty much fall. Everything breaks down. We start seeing a slow bleed opportunity in a bear market. You know, that's where a lot of people give up their gains. So it's not a bad idea to take some profits, and it's not a bad idea to focus, again, to consolidate your portfolios into larger plays and just sit on it and just see how it goes. Yes, last but not least, I promise you guys, I will talk about Pudgy and Pengu. So, Pudgy, I think, personally, Pudgy is, again, and I'll show you just, first I'll talk about charts, and then I'll talk about the overall play. So, Pudgy right now, to me, is doing the same sort of play that it did over here. Oh, I don't know what the hell just happened. Okay, so right there, and now we're seeing the same sort of consolidation. So what I think is going to happen in the next few weeks, and again, it most likely will be dependent on the ETF decision, but if, of course, the ETF does approve, I do see it breaking out something like that. So around the 0.7, 0.8 region. Something like that would be ideal for Pengu. And that means the Pudgy NFTs and everything else will, of course, rocket as well. So I'll quickly just show you guys the Pudgy NFTs. Again, I'm not in the main Pudgies. I'm only little Pudgies. And just from a point perspective, it's $5,100 for one little Pudgy, right? And we look at the price history of all-time high when they were at, not this example, but basically it's around 4 Ethereum was the peak. I think 4.5 Ethereum. So even if you look at it from a risk to reward perspective, guys, and I'll quickly show you what I mean. And this is where, you know, it's called fun math. I call this fun math because it literally is fun math, but this is what fun math looks like. So right now, bear with me, okay? We'll end off the stream. I know it's been 23 minutes, probably the longer streams that I had, but just bear with me just so everyone is on the same page of my thought process. You're welcome to do whatever you want. I don't care. But this is my thought process. And again, if you're not into NFTs, then take my note of large caps. So Dogecoin, Solana, like anything large that you can just move with the market. So here's some fun math. Right now, one Pudgy is 1.09, right? So equals $5,100. Cool. Right? So that's one little Pudgy as of right now. My thought process is, okay, if I see Ethereum going to 5K, right? So whatever it is, if I hold Ethereum from now until 5K, am I going to make a lot of money? Probably not. right? I mean, I will, but not as much as I would like to. But what's the best case scenario for me? Well, the best case scenario is Ethereum goes up. Now, Pengu goes up. And Pudgies go up. But now, all of a sudden, my 1 Ethereum investment, 1.09 investment, Pudgies go up to 4. And again, I'm just going to give just rough numbers, 4.3 Ethereum. Right? So me holding Ethereum, just because I hedged to Ethereum because I'm bullish on Ethereum, I put it into Pudgies. But now all of a sudden, Pudgies catch a bid, right? Because of the ETF or whatever. It doesn't matter. So if we do that math, so at the current price of Ethereum, which again is at 468, my investment went to $20,000, right? Again, I'm still holding Ethereum, right? We're still, the hedge is still towards Ethereum. I'm long on Ethereum. I'm happy. I'm holding Ethereum. But now Pudgies are catching a bid. So if I were to just hold Ethereum alone, I'm only gaining about a 500. And again, I'm just doing rough math here. From now until where I think we're going to, like, again, I'm not going to say it, but like, you get my point, where I think we get extreme, it's a $500 gain per NFT, or sorry, per Ethereum, versus fun math, we go back to all-time high for Pudgies. Do I think it happens, right? So that's the main thing. A lot of people are like, oh, well, NFTs will never catch a bid again. Okay. Congratulations. People also said Ethereum will never go above 4K again, right? And that's the thing, is people can have whatever valued opinion they want. The reality is the market does not give a shit about your opinion. It'll do whatever it wants to do. So it comes down to whether or not this ETF is going to be approved. If Pudgies or Pengu ETF, and again, it's both, right? So this is where it's interesting. It is both. It's not just Pengu the coin, it's also Pudgy the NFT ETF. So if both of them get approved, then ladies and gentlemen, we might have a massive rally for Pudgy specifically, and that's where my exit's going to be. I am going to exit happily right off into the sunset. I will be shorting Bitcoin and Ethereum. I will let you guys know when I do short, and that's going to be my last trade. That's literally going to be my last trade. And for those of you that are just joining, unfortunately, yeah, so this is it. This is it for me in terms of this cycle. This is my last cycle. I don't see myself doing this for many more years. I've made a lot of money this cycle. I'm happy with what I have in life. And I just, again, like, I know it sucks, but I also need to focus on life, right? Like, it's, to me, it's like at one point, it's like, if you look at the top dogs in crypto, like which I'm talking about, like, everyone's just chill, right? They made their money. They're just commentators now. And even for me, like, I think I've uploaded, I want to say like 2,800, 2,900 YouTube videos for free. Like, guys, I've been doing this for every single day for the past 3 years. I want to say, or 2 years for Pengu specifically, but 10 years alone. Like, it's getting to a point for me where I'm just like, all right, enough is enough. I'm happy with where I'm at. And you know, that's the end of that. So this is it. Like I said, this is my last play. This is my last cycle. This is going to be my last, second last trade. Last trade is going to be the short, the mega short. And I love shorting. If you guys remember from this channel, it was probably the most profitable channel in terms of shorts, because I was really good at, I'm a really good shorter. Believe it or not, I'm actually better at shorting than I am in terms of a bull market. I'm way better in a short position trader. But when that time comes, you will be the first ones to know. And of course, in Telegram, which I will link in the chat right now. It is a free Telegram. Nothing is charged. Everything is absolutely free in this channel. But yeah, there you goes. All right, everyone good? Everyone understand? We're all good. I think we're gonna end the stream there. It's been about 27 minutes, and I will. I'll see you guys for Doge video tonight. It's gonna be a big video because we did hit target. A lot of people are like, "I don't see it going at 27 cents." Yeah, well, it did. So now we'll just chill. All right, guys. Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. And I appreciate you guys. Yeah. Have a wonderful day.